Good afternoon, an afternoon version of the Build Your Dream Network virtual water cooler. For those who don't know me, I'm Kelly Hoey, author of Build Your Dream Network. And I am like ready to jump through the camera, right through the screen. I am so happy to be reconnecting with the phenomenal Christine Ntim. Wow, lady, good to see you.
I know, it's been a while. I'm so excited to catch up with you. It's been too long. Virtual universe right now.
Okay, so we've known each other through the startup community for years, but I want to dial back. Okay, I'm thinking it was a weekend. It was like Saturday or Sunday, kind of gray, kind of New York. We're in a conference room at a law firm on Madison Avenue. You had a bunch of startup founders. You were working through programming to help them. You still had your first startup.
Mm-hmm.
Give a little backstory, and then so then we can dive into the global startup ecosystem and what you're doing today. But let's go back to where you started and give me like all right, Kelly, let me catch you up.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's so crazy that it's just a couple of years ago. I mean, I'm such a complete person, different person from back then. But that was pretty much the genesis for GSC. So I think what you're referring to is that time where we did a free boot camp where we thought we'd probably get maybe a couple of founders, maybe 20 max. The room was packed. The law firm was like, we cannot accept anyone in the lobby. There was like a holding pattern outside the building. It was over, I think, about 120 companies allowed in for the boot camp. It was literally a boot camp Saturday where we had all the influencers of the New York City ecosystem just imparting wisdom and knowledge and expertise onto these serial founders in the room. And my life has just been a platform for building for entrepreneurs who want to make a career of building businesses and building their profile ever since. So it's been a crazy journey since that first moment.
All right, so we were there. And then the next thing I know, and I had not been able to attend, it's like peeved to this day, you are then doing programming in Haiti to build up that startup ecosystem. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so with GSC, we actually started virtually, right? And so that was the first live, because obviously as we were engaging with bringing founders together, we would say, we want to see each other in person. So New York was the genesis for like that first pilot experience. And then I thought, this is a conversation that should happen in tech ecosystems around the world, like finding entrepreneurs who are trying to build businesses and trying to learn the art of like building a company that scales and makes an impact. And there's no other place to start that global movement, especially from a step outside the USA than back home to my home country of Haiti. And I know it was such an oxymoron, like Haiti and tech in the same sentence didn't make sense. But you were able to witness, like it was literally a shocker to the country, definitely to the Caribbean region and to the world, who were witnessing live a major tech summit event in Haiti, of all places in the world.
Well, it's, some of the best innovation comes out of, solving problems and scarcity in terms of really getting innovative on how can we create really interesting business models and solutions. So to only imagine that innovation and ideas can come out of abundance, i.e. New York City or Boston or Silicon Valley, is a little, well, you can fill in whatever word you want. Foolish to think, maybe? Anyway, were there some from that experience? And then let's really dive into GSC and all the things you're doing there, and when that all started, and because I believe your virtual started well before, I'm gonna say the events of 2020. But what were some of the things you were seeing in terms of innovation coming out of Haiti and other places that was really getting you excited?
Yeah, I think, the conversation has changed now. I mean, I think everyone is realizing that Silicon Valley as a concept is really, every country has its own version of Silicon Valley, where there's a hub of entrepreneurs who are building great companies that can literally transform the nation, if not the entire world. So Haiti had the same situation where there was a lot of amazing entrepreneurs building great companies, but just weren't getting the same exposure, the same resources, the same respect, I would say. I think that was like the core tenet of why people wanted to come and really be witness and be a part of that launch, is because I think there's a narrative framing here where we need to respect that entrepreneurship is not based on your zip code. It's based on the idea that you have, the power you have to make it happen, and taking it to market and scale. That's what matters. So the zip code is irrelevant. And it's funny that now we live in a virtual world where now it's completely a borderless entrepreneurial community. But at the time, we need to remember that there was a time where if you didn't pack up your stuff to go to Silicon Valley, even in the States, New Yorkers, people from DC have the same mentality. So in Haiti, it was really a shocker and an inspiration for people to recognize that.
Yeah, and I want to say, in one of those things where we said all along with technology, you can build companies everywhere, but pre-2020, sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of like the equivalent of someone saying we have a work from home policy, or we have a leave policy for men. But no, but like policies on the books that no one ever used, right? You think of the corporate equivalent. But now, right? I mean, everything's been disrupted that way. And we couldn't say for a few weeks, oh, right, we'll just do this as a stopgap measure. Now it truly is, all right, work and build from everywhere, and everyone can do that, and everyone can believe it, and everyone can see it happening and embrace it probably more than anything else. All right, tell me where and how you, after the Haiti Tech Summit, talk me through GSE.
Yeah, so with GSE, I mean, Haiti Tech Summit was probably the first like international program where we took the genesis of GSE, of building anywhere, to Haiti, and then we started scaling it across other markets. So after Haiti, we went to Ghana, then to Nigeria, then to South Africa, to Dubai. Fast forward to pre-pandemic, we were in 23 countries. 2019, we did 23 tech summits, building ecosystems around the world. And 2020, before the pandemic, our goal was to hit 54 countries, because we were scaling with partners like Forbes and LinkedIn, all these different ecosystem enablers to find entrepreneurial talent and build those ecosystems both locally and globally. But what has happened, I think, right now with GSE, I think it's very clear that our business is definitely extremely relevant, because one, we pioneered virtual career accelerator programs. I think everyone now has a virtual accelerator program, but now it's really more people recognize that it's necessary to have like a medium of communicating with people virtually. Second, I think the probably fundamental thing that if you recall, one of the exciting things about that first event that you remember in New York City was the concept of the brand entrepreneur. And you're an amazing networking expert, and the power of founders to understand that people are investing in you, not so much the idea, because the idea can evolve. And for us, we believe that entrepreneurs is a career path. Entrepreneurship is a career path, because a lot of times many individuals say like, hey, if you're not building a business, you're working for a corporate profession, that's a career path. So with the resources and the platform that we built at GSE, we're challenging that notion and telling people that there's an entire ecosystem that's ready for you to build and scale, and to recognize that this entrepreneurial path is a career path that you could build for yourself personally, but also the constituents that you want to empower. So there's been so much that's happened since, in terms of the companies that we've launched, the countries that we went to, the partners that we work with. I mean, I think right now, if you Google global startup ecosystem, you see thousands of images of countries around the world where we're building on this concept of building the workforce of the future through entrepreneurship and innovation.
I love this. Okay, so before 2020, what is it, 23 countries you said you were in?
Yeah.
Was that physically or virtually?
No, well, when we launched, we already were in 90 countries with the cohort. So we already were global virtually in scope. But in terms of physical tech summit programs, where we were building with government partners and local constituents, it was 22 countries at the time. So at this point, we have 54 brands operating under the GSE model in terms of physical tech summit lives that has happened around the world.
Wow. Okay. Now, you quickly, I assume, pivoting, getting all this content, taking all this content online. Talk to me about some of the stuff you did in 2020, and I really want to hear more about the Career Accelerator. What's involved in that?
Yeah, so 2020, I think everyone had a pivot. For us, we didn't have a pivot, we had an amplification. Because lucky for us, we started as a digital first company. So we already had remote teams, we already had a remote structure, and we were already promoting remote careers, right? Whether that's an entrepreneur or a business or someone in the professional world. So in 2020, we doubled down on our Career Accelerator programs. Every year prior to that, we did them once a year. That year, we probably did about like a good 20 plus career programs. We did one with Forbes, we did one with LinkedIn. We did so many different programs that year to really help accelerate. And what entails is it's a 4-week program where we tell entrepreneurs and pioneers for 4 weeks. Each week is going to be a focal point to really transform your entrepreneurial career. 1 week is a business boot camp with all the mechanics you need to build a business, marketing, product development, web development, all those items, that you need to build a company. We have all the speakers and resources for that boot camp. Another week is around personal development, personal branding. Again, networking is key. People need to your background, your story, your ability to really build and grow this business. It's an entire week of personal branding hacks and strategies. The next week is really around mental resilience and entrepreneurship, because people forget that there's a lot of anxiety with the highs and lows. It's probably the highest, levels of sporadic moments of high lows that you have in a 10-year career as an entrepreneur, especially if you're in it for the long haul when you're trying to build a company over a time. And the final component is really around networking and building your ecosystem. And that's where we talk about how to build resources and ecosystems around you. Hence why we have tech summits where we tell people like, okay, these 3 weeks is about you and the people the stakeholders you build around you. Now let's talk about the ecosystem around you that you need to explore and leverage to really build and scale. The investors, the other startup entrepreneurs, the programs in your city, really looking around the ecosystem around you to build and scale. So that's really the genesis of the Career Accelerator program that we've been doing since 2016 now. So it's been a while.
Wow, that is so great. And what kind of people are you seeing taking it?
Well, that has evolved. Before it was like, the typical startup entrepreneur. Now we're seeing experienced SME founders taking it. We even seen corporate execs who are trying to become entrepreneurs are doing the program. I'm doing the program now. So now it's a variety, because I don't know if you feel this, Kelly, but like the definition of entrepreneurship is changing for people. I think people, when they saw entrepreneurship, they thought of like either someone who could get a job and just say like, this is what I'm doing to be relevant right now, so I can have CEO in my title. But now, an entrepreneur is like a side hustler. It's a freelancer. It's, a person building and scaling a major corporate, a major business. I mean, entrepreneurship has no boundaries of definition now. And that's what we're seeing in terms of the applicant pool that's coming in to our programs, especially the ones we're doing specifically in different countries around the world through the GSC network.
Well, I sort of like to say, and a term I've used before is the name of an old newsletter of mine, career entrepreneurship, because there's not necessarily that linear, career path. I mean, the likelihood of being handed the silver watch after being at a company for 40 years has probably gone the way of the dinosaur. The events of the last year have, say accelerated for all of us, probably the number of companies and we're going to work for, or made us rethink all of this. So I think the idea that you've got this Career Accelerator where people can explore these things. Now, do people have to have a company, or can they just be like, I want to learn more and I'm thinking about this. This might be a good place to start. Like, what are the prerequisites to take one of these career entrepreneurship journeys?
Yeah, we have different versions. So we have one where it's open to a breadth of people at different stages of the business. And then you have one that's kind of like a pre-career accelerator where you don't have a business, you don't have a concept, and you just want to understand the path of entrepreneurship. If I take this career path, this is where to go. And to give you a window into what that looks like, for example, a lot of entrepreneurs, right, don't pay themselves, don't do payroll, don't do basic logistics. Seriously, right?
I
And they realize 5 years into building this business, they don't have the records to even be able to buy a house, to, you know, put a down payment on major milestones in their lives, even to plan family planning. I mean, I'm a mother and a wife, right? These are things that we talk about that that usually doesn't take mainstream conversation, but what is the burn rate that you need to survive as well, to live an actual healthy life without anxiety? So these are the conversations that happen during these programs where we get really into the high level discussion that, you know, you see in typical entrepreneurial programming, but also what is the future for you as an individual, and what are the, I would say, the administrative parameters that you need to have to stabilize your life and the people that you care about as an entrepreneur taking this career path, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a very enriching curriculum.
Oh yeah, I should say so. I just want to say, you know, bring this, your comment on paying yourself and not being able to, you know, I say these milestones and the journey and the ups and downs, obviously resonating with Delia, and thank you for chiming in. Yeah, it's kind of the things you wish, you know, people told you, and demystifying what it really takes. So where can people find information? When's your next, and I'm sure on your website there's the next career accelerator, but tell us where we can find information, and what's the timing for like upcoming career accelerators?
Yeah, so essentially, if you go to globalstartupecosystem.com, yes, that is our domain. You know, you can find all the different career accelerator programs, and of course, join the community. We have an app that you could download and join and be a part of the community as well, and get, you know, continuous access to resources and information. And of course, there's one program we have specifically for women. I know this is the last day of Women's History Month. It's called the Her Future Career Accelerator. So all my ladies out there, feel free to join. And of course, you have the general GSC Accelerator, but there are dozens of programs hosted by the way, by GSC, but also within the network. So we have over 600 speakers and thought leaders on the platform who issue webinars and boot camps, so all types of programming throughout the year for people to tap into and be a part of. So you're not limited just to GSC internal programming, but also what the global ecosystem can provide you as well.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. And you just had a summit with for women. How did that go? I'm sorry that I was not able to attend. You know, life gets in the way of the good stuff sometimes. So how did that go on Friday?
Oh, it went really well. It's called Her Future Summit. It's one of the brands that GSC manages. And usually every year we have 100 speakers, thousands of guests around the world. Last year we had speakers like Sophia the Celebrity Robot. This year we had, you know, a couple ambassadors from around the world, the government officials, and all type of corporate and entrepreneur influencers usually speak on the program. And it's intense. We talk about family planning. We talk about, you know, career development, personal development. I think the theme this year was really striking for people. How do we live in a post-pandemic world? And I know we're talking a lot about GSC, but my passion is really talking about how do we prepare ourselves for what's next? Because this digital universe that we're in right now, the new normal is going to be a hybrid of this for sure. You know, so how are people planning networking etiquette? Like, do you know how to come online effectively to really build your community? I feel like people are networking in a completely different way. Are you really prepared for the reality of how to hire, how to build? I mean, so many people are unemployed globally right now that I think people are having more introspective thoughts about what is their next move and how are they going to plan it virtually, because now this virtual reality is here to stay. So you really have to plan effectively, and it's not the same. I say this all the time, you know, how we bring people together for our programs in person is actually radically different than how we do it online, which means a lot of the thought leadership that we share with people is, are you ready for the future of work? Are you ready for that? You know, and how are you planning? Yeah,
and knowing that whatever is our post-pandemic world, we now I'm saying there's the technology options, but also understanding that each of us individually has been affected by this time, and the choices we will be making in how we engage, how we network, how we connect, are going to be very personal based on these experiences. And so, we can't just assume just because maybe someone wants to get out there and attend an event tomorrow that somebody else I'm done. If it's not virtual, I'm not attending it because this is how I now feel after this time. It's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds, and I'm so glad you're addressing these things. Delia has a question, and I know you're going to answer. Programs for soon-to-be empty nesters. I'm guessing what you're going to say is, lucky you. No, what you're going to say is you've got the programming coming up for women, right? You've got the general program. Is there any programs that you do that are specifically cohorts for retirees, or it's sort of people should just fall into one of the programs you have?
We're actually in talks with that because right now we're living longer, right? And a lot of people are experiencing some amazing milestones in their career. I mean, I'm seeing such a huge movement even on LinkedIn right now to like highlight the, people who are making huge career moves after 50, after 60, after 40. And it's really inspiring. So we have sessions for empty nesters or people who are beyond, like I would say above the 50 plus mark, and trying to navigate their career post, those younger years that people tend to call, because I think there's a whole ecosystem of resources for young people, and young people need it because young people at this time is dealing with 2 global recessions in their career lifetime. So that's another conversation for later. But we are planning on doing a full-fledged a career accelerator program for 50 plus next year, depending on our resources and partners. So we'll keep on an announcement for that. But I highly suggest for women, female entrepreneurs or career professionals to join the Her Future Career Accelerator or the GSC Career Accelerator. You can see the curriculum overview in terms of the options available to you. But that's a very powerful segue into really thinking about all stages of individuals who are going to be living in a post-pandemic world, how they're going to be interacting and building their career. Because we are living longer, and our career choices require us to even think, what am I going to do when I'm 60, 70, 80 even?
Right.
Because you don't have to retire at 65. Some people can't even afford to retire at certain time frames. So I'm very curious to see like how that evolves over time.
Right. And I would say, so much research on the importance of keeping, the muscle between your 2 ears working. And for some people that may be volunteer work, for other people that may be continuing to work, because it's so important to, keep this muscle developing and active. And this is why I think in terms of watching people at traditional retirement age who are rethinking their options, not just for financial reasons, but for other reasons as well. So, all right, so give the website again, Global Entrepreneur Ecosystem, right?
Yeah, Global Startup Ecosystem.
Global Startup Ecosystem. All of the programming and stuff is there. So you've given us some hints on what's coming up. What else is coming up for you, Christine? You're always got you are like always the innovating entrepreneur. So come on, give me a few more hints, my friend.
I mean, aside from a major launch campaign that we're going to do next quarter, where we really, going back to this whole conversation about the future of work, we're going to be releasing a lot of material about ways that people could strategize to prepare for the post-pandemic reality that's happening right now. People have lost loved ones. People have made radical shifts. I think, right now, one thing I will say is really be conscious of who you talk to and how you talk to them at this time. You don't know what battles people are struggling with behind closed doors. Everyone is going through huge internal shifts for the good and for the bad right now during this pandemic. So I think, for us, in building this, career narrative of really empowering entrepreneurs and influencers and pioneers to prepare for the future, it's really launching this campaign on the future of work and what you could do, tips and strategies, hacks. You'll see a lot more of that, and as someone who's been building on this for several years across so many different countries around the world, you're going to be very excited to see that content come out over the next couple of weeks. And we hope that it's very useful to people because we need to have these conversations for sure right now.
Awesome. Oh, I can't. All right. You for sure ping me or tag me when you get that out there, please. I'm really excited to see all of that. All right, have you been in one place all through this craziness of?
Not really. I mean, I went from traveling to 30 plus countries for a global tour in 2019 and prior to literally being in 2 places. So we did travel during the pandemic. And that was very interesting to travel during a time where people are still experiencing lockdowns and loss and trying to understand the world. I mean, I think the geopolitics has transformed, and that's a whole nother conversation for later, but it's very interesting to navigate through that during this time as well.
All right. So when you can travel freely again, because you're like me, like, oh my God, I miss being in the sky. I miss flying. Where's the first place you're going to go? Put going home aside. All right. All right. Haiti and Ghana aside. Okay. Put those 2 aside. Where's the first place you want to go?
Oh, that's a tough question. Definitely, I want to explore. I want to continue our tour. We were doing a major tour across Africa. We did about 10 to 15 countries during the 2019 tour. I think we want to keep going. So probably a country on the African continent. I want to hit immediately after things settle and people normalize traveling, or whatever the new normal of travel will be. I'm looking forward for that.
All right. Well, it can't come soon enough, I'm sure, for the 2 of us. Yes. Who knew people like how much you miss an airport and a tiny tray pulling down, but I do, or pulling up and over. I so miss it. Let's not leave it so long to catch up. It's been way too long, and I will, after this, email separately to say, hey, where are the ways that I can come and be part and support you in everything that you are doing? Anything else you need to share with us before we say, well, this has been a fun time, hanging out at the water cooler?
No, I mean, I guess, one thing I will say is, like, to your point, out of sight does not mean out of mind. I think that's probably the most important thing that entrepreneurs to know, that, one thing that one of our speakers has said that I love is, like, your network is your net worth. Just because you're going through changes in your life, stay in touch with the people that you love and that you care and you respect. Because in this lifetime, if you're blessed to have, like, a quarter century, half a century, or even, like, beyond to live, those relationships matter. And I think now, through this pandemic, this virtual world that we live on right now, we realize that we need to keep those connections alive. So definitely, I will, of course, stay in touch. I kind of pinged you randomly and say, hey, how's it been? Sometimes that's all it takes. No acts, no offers, no nothing. Just, hello, how are you? Exactly. And that's the best for me for now. So definitely, I'll be in touch. And nothing more, nothing less. Just like, just keep monitoring us at globalstartupecosystem.com. Everyone can follow me for hacks. I do weekly action anything sessions as well, directly on my LinkedIn page. And we'll do that. Thank you so much, Kelly, as always.
So good. Yeah, your network is your net worth. And that's why I say to people, think about how you show up for your network every single day, because then they're going to be there for you. So amazing stuff, lady. Loved catching up with you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.